Patriots, we need to talk, because what I just heard out of that Senate hearing should send chills down every American's spine. I don't care if you live in California, Texas, or the hills of Kentucky. This is about our homes, our communities, our safety. And once again, the Biden administration is asleep at the wheel. Or worse, they are driving us off a cliff on purpose. Now look, we have seen this playbook before. Government overreach when it suits them, but when it comes to real threats like wildfires burning through our towns, they pass the buck. They got funding. They strip resources. And then they say, let the states handle it, as if these states are not already drowning in debt, regulation, and federal interference. This is not leadership. This is sabotage. It is like they want America to fail. And guess who gets burned, literally? The American people.
Very much. Senator Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Schultz, welcome. As you know, the Forest Service plays a critical role in wildfire response, not just programs to prevent or mitigate the impact of fires, but to respond to them when they happen. However, under the current administration, we've seen a dangerous reduction in the capabilities and capacity of the Forest Service to respond to wildfires. Through both the Deferred Resignation Program and the Voluntary Early Retirement Authority, the Forest Service has lost more than 5,000 employees, about 1,400 of whom had red cards, and you know the significance of red cards. So I'm concerned that this represents a significant reduction in capability and capacity and poses a serious danger to communities, not just in California, elsewhere in the West and across the country. These staffing reductions, coupled with the president diverting National Guard units in California to mean that those resources are no longer available to support our wildfire response capacity. It's not just irresponsible, it's dangerous. That's me talking. I want to hear from you. Chief, I know that since the reductions, the agency has invited those who resigned to restatus themselves for fire season. Can you share with the committee how many have actually taken the agency up on the offer to restatus?
Senator, thank you for the question. So just to kind of restate again, in terms of resources, we're basically at 99% of capacity of our firefighting resources in terms of our GS9 and below firefighters. So we have had no degradation.
Is that funding or staffing levels?
It's staffing levels. Yes, sir. And there's been no impact on the funding either on that.
So how have you offset the more than 1,500 staff?
Okay,
reduction?
so we're talking two different things. So we had people that took DRP. The DRP was, firefighters were not eligible for DRP. We had non-firefighting personnel that had red cards, like you said, that were about 1,400 that did.
So you're saying there's
DRP.
no reduction in the red cards?
No, what I'm saying is that the firefighters that are classified as firefighters were not eligible for DRP, so none of them took DRP. We had other staff that were non-fire personnel that do have red cards, and we had, like you mentioned, we had about, I think we had 4,000 took DRP and another 1,000 that retired outside of DRP, and there was about 1,400 that did have red cards. So those are the folks that you're referring to. We don't have numbers yet. They've just been kind of coming back on in the last couple of weeks, and as we get those numbers, we can get them to you, but we have reached out, as you indicated, to those 1,400 and allowed for them to come back, and not just allow, but encourage them to come back. We have a process for them to come back and support us this year through the end of September.
Yeah, well, I'm going to eagerly await those numbers and regular reports and updates because red cards are significant. Even those that are not firefighters serving critical roles that support the firefighting activity. So I'm going to be looking for that data and those further assurances and commitment on your part because we're just now entering peak fire season in California and throughout the West. I want to get back to the topic of partnerships. You mentioned it earlier in the hearing. I know Senator Barrasso emphasized this earlier in the hearing. The Forest Service's state and private forestry programs, including state fire assistance, the volunteer fire assistance, and the broader state, private, and tribal forestry initiatives provide crucial financial and technical support to state and local fire departments for wildfire prevention, as well as detection and suppression. These programs are essential for building and maximizing the capacity in fire-adapted communities and ensuring the safety of first responders during wildfires. what is the status of FY25 funding for these programs? Are you aware? And I guess alongside with that, what's your confidence level in getting the funding out by the August 15th deadline?
Sure. Thank you, sir. So, Senator, the fiscal year 25, we're still working with OMB on that request. So we're looking to finalize that here probably within the next couple of weeks.
Look, that worries me. I don't mean to cut you off.
Yes.
The deadline to get this out is August 15th. We're a month out, and you're still finalizing the numbers?
So Q4 numbers for 25 are still being finalized for some of those programs. Yes, sir.
That should be a big red flag for all of us. Let me make one other important point as my time is running out. From past fires in California, including Santa Rosa, years ago, Los Angeles more recently, these are the types of programs that we should be supporting. I asked you about the FY25 numbers. Do you know what the FY26 numbers? My understanding is the president's proposed budget zeroes out this program. How does that make any sense?
So, Senator, I think what the intent of that program in 26 is to transfer that responsibility to the states. That's the intent of that, and that giving the states some heads up that that's coming.
Look, as every state that I'm aware of is having a tougher budget picture to face. The threat of fires is real. The threat of fires is growing. How does it make sense for the federal government to zero out these programs that you said are so critical?
Sir, we would still be partnering with the states in dialogue and discussions, but the transfer.
But you're zeroing out the resources. How does that make any sense?
That's correct. Well, it's sharing that responsibility and pushing that to the states.
You're pushing it to the states that have less resources to work with. How does that make any sense?
In a sense, it makes sense because it's putting that responsibility on the states to make those decisions locally.
Look, it may be residents of California or Utah or other states in between. These are all Americans. Communities in the United States of America that are at increased risk because of the actions of this administration, which contradict the supposed goals and objectives. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Senator
Senator Alex Padilla, a Democrat from California of all places, actually sounded the alarm, and for once, I agree with him. He said the Forest Service has lost over 5,000 employees under Biden. Let that sink in. 5,000. And about 1,400 of them were red card certified, meaning they could help fight wildfires. Why did they leave? Because of Biden's deferred resignation program and so-called voluntary early retirements. Translation, they were pushed out by design, weakening America's wildfire defenses when we need them most. Even worse, Biden pulled National Guard units away from wildfire zones in California. These are the heroes we depend on, and he is diverting them like they are chess pieces in some DC strategy game. It is not just reckless. It is dangerous. Now, the Forest Service chief tried to spin it. Claimed they are still at 99% capacity, with firefighters Gs 9 and below. But here is the kicker: the red card folks are not included in that number. They are support staff, technical experts, logistical pros, and without them, our fire lines collapse. The agency is supposedly asking these folks to come back. No real numbers. No accountability. Just trust us. Yeah, right. And while our homes are at risk, the bureaucrats are still finalizing next year's funding. August 15th is the deadline to get it out, and we are less than a month away, and they still do not have numbers ready. Red flag, people. Huge red flag. And get this, the FY26 budget, Biden and his people are zeroing out wildfire prevention funding. Gone. Wiped. Their excuse: let the states handle it. Are you kidding me? California cannot keep the lights on. Oregon is overrun. You are pushing critical fire control responsibilities to broke states and walking away. This is the America Last doctrine in action. Cut services, shift blame, and let the American people suffer. Patriots, if we do not stand up now, if we do not demand real leadership and real accountability, then we are not just watching fires on the news. We will be watching them from our front porches. This is about sovereignty. This is about safety. This is about survival. Let your voice be heard. Share this video. Tag your senator. Tag your governor. And for God's sake, get ready to vote like your life depends on it. Because it does.